the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard on VSiN.
Here we go. Welcome in. It is Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss along with Pauly Howard. We're live in downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino. Action-packed 3-hour program coming up today. Nick Whalen, 30 minutes from right now. Reaction to Week 14, plus his best player props for tonight's Monday Night Football. Good one, Chargers and the Eagles. Warren Sharp, same thing, coming up in 90 minutes. We have the good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll get into college football a lot throughout the show today. And we have plenty of time on updated division numbers, yes-no playoff odds, awards markets, and Week 15 numbers as well. How were you feeling last night as the number one Chiefs hater on the network?
Yeah.
Watching that debacle against the Texans, and they go down again, and now they're dead.
No, not dead.
Oh, man.
Not dead. They're on life support to see what the Chargers do tonight. The Chargers' schedule is so difficult, and they go to Kansas City next week. They still have to play Houston, and they have to go to Dallas, and they have to go to Denver. That's the only hope they have. They did catch the break with the Danny Dimes injury, and I hope the league steps in and doesn't allow the Bengals to cut Flacco when he goes to Indianapolis. I don't want to see that. But they got the break where Dimes is out for the year, and as you called this, watch out, the Colts could miss the playoffs as they are now 13-point dogs in Seattle and they have to go with Riley Leonard. Andy Reid blew it, and he blew it again today. That is just a horrific decision to punt there. Your defense is dominating the second half. I don't know if the Texans were capable of even driving down and kicking a field goal.
Three and out the entire time.
Your season on the line, got to have it game tied 4th and 1 from his own 30. To show you how bad that decision was, they were minus $3 to win the game in play. And he still goes for it. After the game, I blew it. Horrible decision. Today, you know what? If I had to do it all over again, I would do the same thing. You're out of your mind, Andy.
Did he not look
That's terrible.
like a coach last night that was almost on the brink of retiring and a guy who could not forget the game? He looked like a big body language guy. Yeah. He looked like a guy who could not wait for the season to get over with. Honest to God.
Yeah.
And Mahomes, it was the worst game basically he's ever had. He ended with a 0.54 EPA per dropback. That was the worst number overall. 42.4% completion percentage, worst of his career. 19.8 passer rating, worst of his career. He is now 9-17 ATS last 26 games, including 4-11 ATS against teams above 500. Pauly, that is the worst mark. Both of those are for any quarterback in the entire NFL. But it wasn't just him. Kelsey looked shot. Yep. How about the drops left and right? Mm-hmm. And then Reed again, clueless going through the game last night. If you want to lay the points of them coming up this weekend, be my guest. But this is what it looks like for the Kansas City Chiefs, where they're not pulling a rabbit out of their, butt every single weekend and getting away with a one-score victory. This is how it probably should have gone more of this way last year. And now we're finding out the team is just not that good. They're not.
They're 4-1 to miss.
They were back to 5.5-point favorites last night.
Yep. Chargers at home, at the Titans, Broncos at home on Christmas, and at the Raiders. 10-7 could get you in because the Chargers' schedule is so difficult. The other thing is you lose all these tiebreakers. That's the other thing. But this is just a great, great Houston defense. And the pass rush all over Mahomes and how well they played defensively. Stroud has to do a better job. I would argue the second biggest play of the game was he missed Hutchinson wide open.
Well, he made some awesome throws though last night.
Yeah, but he gets Hutchinson out of the gates to start the third quarter. Then you're near midfield, and you don't give the Chiefs great scoring position, field position as well. Fairbairn gets there again. How about that? 20-3 overrun, 1.5 made field goals. But
it's a 60-minute game, my friend.
Yep, they are minus 2,000 now to make the playoffs, and they have the Raiders coming up, Arizona.
So they might go 12-5.
Yeah, they could. They could win the division.
Yeah.
That's another thing, too. That was 11-1 not that long ago to coincide with the Dimes injury as well. So it was just a horrible job by Andy Reid. And for him to double down on it today, after he said I was wrong after the game, then he comes out, I do it all over again. That's asinine. You cannot punt there. And he did it again. Then he did it again, 4th and 4. He went for it as well. It's just your defense is awesome. You had timeouts. Houston couldn't move the ball, Andy.
So this is the first time in Andy Reid's career that he went for it on 4th down with a score tied in the fourth quarter or overtime and with his offense inside its own 40-yard line.
Why don't you run it? That's another thing.
And of course, Kareem Hunt has been automatic
That's
in
right.
these short yardage situations.
Yep.
And Mahomes is getting harassed the entire game. Nothing was coming easy whatsoever, and you had the drops on top of it. It was difficult even trying to explain what we were watching with that game last night. But I want good teams in the playoffs. And it's a long season. Things change, obviously. They looked dead and buried to begin the year, and then they got hot. And I wish you never would have sent me that text. Bet on the Chiefs to win the whole thing. I don't know. You remember what week it was?
Well, we're not dead, but
that ticket has
I'm
no
shocked.
chance.
I'm shocked by that.
You know what?
They have all these weapons, and they can't move the football.
So which team is in worse shape, actually, the Chiefs or the Baltimore Ravens?
Chiefs are in worse shape. Did you envision a scenario in August where Lamar Jackson, Burrow, and Mahomes would miss the playoffs? How about that?
That would have been a nice little parlay.
No kidding. But again, it's just they are now 12-1 under their first half team total. Baltimore. Monken's doing a horrible job. Lamar's been bad, and they can't catch a break. I'm with Harbaugh. To me, that's a touchdown from Likely. I don't know. He didn't complete the catch and make the football move. And come on, what are we doing here? And then that's an interception too, where Rodgers goes to the ground and he has it, and the Baltimore guy takes it away from him. But those two calls go against them. They lose to a bad Pittsburgh team. The Steelers might actually win this division by default, and they have no one to blame but themselves. All this talent, so good offensively with the weapons that they have. The injuries, the defense was banged up. You had the slow start, and now to lose Cincinnati and Pittsburgh back-to-back at home, and they still have New England, and they have to go to Lambeau coming up. But I don't know if they go to Cincinnati and win.
The Steelers might win this division at 8-9.
That's true.
So somehow, some way, Mike Tomlin actually, that streak of having every single season go over or finish 500 or better might actually come to an end, and they could still win the division / make the playoffs. I did not see that the North and the AFC being this pitiful.
Yep.
I mean, it's just the Bengals defense again. Yeah, the Burrow I mean, what are we doing here, folks?
Oh, was that terrible?
But again, like the Likely touchdown that was overruled, he had, and I'll get into the explanation coming up a little bit later on, but he had to get a third step down.
If that's the rule, change the rule. That's dumb.
Of course.
That's dumb. That's 100 guys in a bar. That's a touchdown.
Can you imagine if the game of football was never invented and they were going to play its first season ever coming up and they ran these rules by everybody? How it changes in the end zone for the touchdown rules? Well, when you're a running back and you jump and the ball actually touches and it goes over, it breaks the line there, or it touches the pylon, that's a touchdown, even though potentially none of your body was actually ever in the end zone. But and by the way, if the guy comes down in the corner with both feet and does a tap dance, hangs onto the ball, that's good. But Isaiah Likely, that's not. People would be like, what are you doing? This doesn't make any sense. No, we're going to start over with the rules. That's what they have to do. The rule makes no sense. That has to be a touchdown. I don't have a dog in the fight. That's a touchdown. Come on.
It also has to be an interception, too, with what happened with Rodgers.
I agree.
That's, yep. How about all the overs? How crazy was that?
A lot of points yesterday.
Yeah. Other than the Minnesota game, everything went over.
Yeah, they almost got there on their own.
Yeah, before the Sunday night game. Yep. I mean, we saw it all. You know, Sanders looked like a franchise quarterback. Sabotage and horrible what Cleveland's done. How about the Raider finish? I couldn't believe it. Why? What? It puts the game over, and you get Denver and under becomes Raiders and over.
Right.
On the silly decision to knock the ball away from them, delay a game, they had no chance to get the playoff. And then why would you even bother kicking the field goal there? There's no time left. And of course it falls 7, and it comes 24-17. As a guy said,
there's one reason.
There's
one reason, and it's obviously this racket that we're involved in.
I can't believe that. I can't believe the finish of that. Because it was 4th and 4, and Peyton passed on the chippy field goal.
Right.
And they went for it, didn't get it, and then the Raiders keep chucking it. They hit one long one, but the clock's going to run out, and then the stupid penalty. And Carlson makes the field goal 24-17. Brutal.
And it happened out here in Las Vegas, too.
Yeah. But as you know, it's just, you saw this. I'd rather be lucky than good with the Survivor contest and the finish of that game and the breaks and all this. It's nonsense.
Yeah, here's what happened, because another contest finished yesterday. I was still alive with my partner. We were one of the final 8 in the Super Contest Survivor over at the Westgate. 6 of us were on Tampa Bay. That's the team that we focused on for this week. We went to war with. One entry was on Cleveland, loser, and Seattle. Tied at halftime, blew them out in the second half. That person who had Seattle and Cleveland, only person with 2 entries left, the same entries that a couple of weeks back were on Dallas as a 3.5-point dog at home, down 21-0 to Philadelphia, came back and won. And they were on Detroit at home against the Giants, had absolutely no business winning the game. And that person was also on the Bears when they survived the Giants when Jackson Dart went down with the injury. But I tip my cap to that guy. Incredible job, and that's what it's going to take. When he got, I don't know who the person is, but when he got there with Dallas and Detroit, we said on the air he's going to win the contest. Mm-hmm. He did a couple of weeks later. Think about this, if he was eliminated from the contest on those games, maybe somebody's on some other team yesterday, but if all 6 of us are on Tampa Bay, that's a 6-way chop, just like it was in Grandissimo, and all 6 of us would have been winners. But that person takes it down. I tip my cap. Unbelievable contest. I love the journey, and I can't wait for it to start again next year.
And Circa Survivor went from 900, and now we're under 15, and it went from 300 people are going to chop to will it even make it to Christmas? Mm-hmm. The top 2 selections go down yesterday.
How about that?
Mercy.
We'll discuss the circus that is college football coming up next, bowl games, and I want Pauly to make us a guarantee next year if the sport does it again. Follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
So if you go back to last year, a gentleman who's been on this network several times, Brett McMurphy, he broke that news a year ago that SMU was going to make the playoff before the show started, and all hell broke loose. And he told you that's going to be Haley's Comet, probably never happen again.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing, because we were on the air yesterday doing the VSiN Pro Football Tailgate show, and the entire time, Notre Dame was moving like they were going to get in. It went from -1,000, -1,200, up to -2,000, up to -3,000. They were sitting at that number at FanDuel for a while. They got to -4,000 to win it. My guess is the committee, it came down like, if we're going to check your phones, we're checking your email. If anybody says one damn word about this, you're fired and we're going to break your legs. Nobody's going to get wind of this because usually the sports betting market, they're ahead of this stuff. Nobody had this yesterday. You could have grabbed the entire morning. You could have had Notre Dame 10, 11, 12 to 1 for hours on end to miss the playoff, and it never moved. It only kept going the opposite direction.
Why was it moving? -1,000, -1,200, -1,500, -2,000, -3,000.
Yeah, maybe that's just the book having an opinion on it and moving it on their own.
Could be. I also remember that offshore book years ago did something with the Oscars with like best screenplay or something. They did it intentionally to see if people would move the steam, or would follow the money and react to the steam.
That's right.
And they did it, and it worked. And they got there. No, we didn't have information. We wanted to manipulate the market, and it worked. The guy didn't win. So, I mean, that was also maybe with this, because what were you reacting to that they were out? And it got up to 3,000. And then the Bama number kept going down, but Alabama was safely in the whole time. Come on. How do you look like that and not drop? The only time that's ever happened.
Ever.
Where a team loses a conference title game, it doesn't move.
Thank God. I mean, some logical Alabama fans on X actually responded. And I was just pointing out the obvious. I mean, they had -3 yards rushing. All I said on X was nothing in the fine print says they have to take this team. There's nothing that ever suggests that, right? They don't even have criteria or set rules for this anyway. They make it up willy-nilly, as we saw again this year. And I actually had a lot. Thank you, by the way, for all the Alabama fans who were like, "You're right. We don't deserve to be in." Not after that performance. So they actually.
Well, not only that, it's how they played since the Tennessee game.
Of course, but how do you put up that bad of a performance when you were fortunate to not get shut out? You run the ball for -3 yards. It's one more data point. You're not playing good football, and the committee's like, "Yeah, no, sorry, we're keeping him at number 9." What? How? Come on.
And Georgia wins the game and doesn't move. It was an exhibition.
Yeah.
Get rid of these games.
But only the SEC, though, right?
Yeah.
Only the SEC where that happens.
As I pointed out yesterday on the Tailgate Show, last year, SMU lost on a 56-yard field goal at the gun and dropped 2 spots. Bama doesn't drop after that.
I think
awful performance. It was come on,
Pauly. I think Brad Powers, put this on X yesterday. I'm getting it all. It's happened in the last couple of years. 16 teams have lost.
You're right.
Their conference title game. 15 of them dropped. Only one team has not dropped. There you go, the Crimson Tide, and they could not have been worse than what they were.
Yep. But the other thing, the comeback is Notre Dame did it to themselves. I don't know why they weren't prepared for this. It was set up the whole way. You've referenced SMU Baylor several times about it. It will come down to the head-to-head will finally matter. Chris Felica laid it out beautifully. Brad Powers laid it out beautifully that this was going to happen. That head-to-head was finally going to come into play if they were sitting there side by side. You played 3 good teams. You lost to 2 of them. Join a conference. Enough already. And then how about the timing now where they would have made it this year if it was next season? Because now in the future, if they're top 12, no questions asked, are automatically in the playoff. But you have the ACC, you're involved in 24 different sports. You won't go all in and join a conference. If you were in the ACC and were in the conference, you would have been in the ACC title game, and you would have got in. But you did it to yourselves where you got beat by Miami. Your best win was USC at home, and you set yourself up for this where you played a lousy schedule, which that isn't your fault. That's just how it broke, though.
Yeah, I think putting Miami in was the obvious play. I would have had Alabama out and had Notre Dame ahead of Alabama. If I'm Notre Dame people, I would not be pissed at Miami jumping us, although that process was ridiculous. I would be pissed that they didn't bump down Alabama whatsoever. Here is their AD, Pete Bavacqua, who has been going scorched earth. Yeah, we'll get that coming up in a second.
This is outrageous. His whole media tour and how they're acting like children and taking their ball and going home. No bowl game, and now there could be permanent. What do you think the conference is going to do when it's between Miami and Notre Dame and they're going to bat for, and I agree with you, they should be in over Alabama. But in any event, this is nonsense. They played, Miami won. How was Miami out? Of course the ACC is going to go to bat for Miami.
Yep.
Permanent damage.
By the way, so you're going to do this when it's convenient for you in the conference. You got to be kidding me with this Notre Dame. It's a horrible look, by the way. And now they're not going to play in their bowl game. How childish. But it's a terrible system, and I get that part. Now, here you go. Here's their AD talking about the system.
Our problem, Dave, is with the process, right? So we were, for right or wrong reasons, and you might totally disagree with me, but we were absolutely led to believe this entire CFP ranking season that we were in. You know, you go back to that first ranking, we were 6-2, Miami was 6-2, and they beat us. They beat us in that first game. I'm not going to argue that. I mean, that's plain as day. You know, it was a good game, but they beat us. But we were both 6-2. We were 10th. They were 18th. The only thing that happened from that point is we both won out in convincing fashion. I think we won our next 4 games by an average of 30 points. For some reason, we end up 11th and on the outside looking in. In the Tuesday ranking, the penultimate ranking, all of a sudden we drop below Alabama. We go and handle business in Stanford in a very convincing fashion. Alabama beats an Auburn team that had a difficult year, and it was a close game. And, we're not getting reasonable explanations for this.
There you go. He was on Barstool Sports earlier today.
He's got a point at the end.
Yeah.
Why did Alabama get credit for beating a bad Auburn team? Yet you dropped them 6 spots when they lost to Oklahoma, and they outgained them 2-1, but had silly turnovers.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's also, BYU dropped. They lost to Texas Tech twice. Texas Tech is top 4 in the country.
That's the other thing. Why? I heard so much of this going into the game. Well, if BYU is going to get penalized, but Alabama won't.
Yeah.
Well, do the games count or not?
Are
we playing for keeps or no?
The whole thing is so stupid.
Both teams got blown out.
So I would say this, but he has a right to be pissed off there because he was misled by the committee. You can't do a show next year.
I agree with that.
You can't, and if they do, Paul, here's the guarantee: we can't talk about it. Yeah. It's absolutely outrageous. I'd rather have the mafia run things than this committee. They're an absolute disgrace, and I called it yesterday on the tailgate. It's a step above professional wrestling. You can't have this the whole time, and you opened them up 8 spots behind them. And that guy, his point is, we won out. We won by 30 points a game, and all of a sudden, last time, because we're 1 spot ahead of them, now the head-to-head's going to matter? What are you talking about, committee? Come on. It's outrageous.
Don't panic, too. I also think this is unfair to say in light of what happened on Notre Dame, that group of 5 should be eliminated. That's not right. You can't have all these schools play and they don't have a chance. They deserve one bid.
I would agree.
It's silly that 2 got in. That I agree with. But that goes back to the ACC and their procedures and how it played out. And you had a 5-loss team won your conference title game. But that Boise team was very good last year. This is just a fluke year where they're down and you just see a big point spread. But you must, come on, we embrace it and love it for March Madness. You can't say the little guy can't get one seat at the table. That's stupid.
No, you have to.
There's too many of these leagues. So what? They're a 16-point dog. Look what happened to North Dakota State. They were like $2 to win the whole thing. They lost at home as a 15-point favorite. Upsets happen. Who knows? Maybe Tulane shocks the world. I mean, you got to put the.
You have to have them in.
You got to have them one spot to at least a group of 5. Give them one.
I totally concur. So based on my thought process here, that they were going to act like they did in 2014 when TCU was ahead of Baylor the entire time until the final rankings, and Baylor beat them outright, and they put them ahead of TCU in the final rankings, and Miami at plus $5, plus $5.50, got there thinking that the committee was actually going to do this, and they did it. I don't know, man. It just feels like dirty's not the right word, but they make it up every single week of every single year during the season.
They're in a tough spot, though, with the weekly rankings. And you're right. There shouldn't be a Tuesday show before the Sunday morning show.
Right.
Because they're boxed in, and then they have to, get creative and sometimes lie or just say nonsense. But also, were they going to keep Alabama out back-to-back years? Because it's the whole thing. You also have to blame the SEC and Greg Sankey. Because they're like Notre Dame. Every time they don't get their way, they threaten to leave and walk out. Greg Sankey on SEC Network thought they deserved 7 teams, more than half the field. He wanted Vandy and Texas. This guy's ruining the sport.
They'll get that once they go to 16 teams. As sad as that is.
Now, why is that picking up steam? We have to go to 16. No, we don't.
No, we don't.
We couldn't get a playoff forever, and now they want to go to 16 and have play-in games and all this other crap.
Can we realize that the super conferences were the worst idea of all time and go back to what we used to have?
There you go.
Be much better. Nick Whalen on the program coming up next. He likes a couple of player props on the Chargers side tonight. It looks like he might be leaning towards the Eagles to bounce back. We'll get who he likes and why Philly the way it looks here on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Big one tonight, Monday Night Football. Both teams have to have it. Got to have it game. Eagles laying 2.5. Most books total 41.5 on the road in L.A. Taking on the Chargers. Nick Whalen joins the program now, as he does every Monday at this time with RotoWire. He's on the Progressive Guest Line. Nick, good to talk to you again. Thanks for the time. We appreciate it. You are leaning towards Philadelphia in this game tonight. Why are you expecting a bounce back here from this team?
Yeah, this is far from the Nick Whalen 5-star play of the week, but I am leaning Philly here, guys. It starts with the Herbert situation. We saw him play through that hand last week, but of course that was against the Las Vegas Raiders. Thought he looked pretty shaky, at least in the first 2 possessions. Once he came back, was able to settle in the second half. But regardless of how poorly the Eagles have played over their last 6 quarters now, I still think this is a much stiffer test than going up against that Vegas defense. I mean, Eagles are number 2 in the NFL in quarterback hit rate. So that's something they're going to be targeting. I still think we have an overall talent advantage for the Eagles, even with no Lane Johnson, no Jalen Carter. That absolutely matters. And I think you have an Eagles team that got just completely big dogged, bullied last week by the Chicago Bears. I don't see that happening 2 weeks in a row. I think that was somewhat of a wake-up call, specifically for the run defense. You have a Chargers team, of course, that did run it well, again, on the Raiders last week. You get Omari and Hampton back. You have 2 options there now. But I think Philadelphia, behind the scenes, has made the changes they need to make defensively. There's been hints from Nick Sirianni that we'll see a little bit more creativity in that offense. I mean, this is a huge inflection game for the Eagles. If they lose this, it feels like the season is off the rails, even if they're not going to fall out of the playoff race. I'm going to put my faith in a team that won the Super Bowl last year, that has experience in these exact situations. It feels like they go through this every year. I like the Eagles to go on the road and get this win.
So what is your breakdown overall with Vidal and the Chargers here with Hampton coming back? How do you see this split going, and which guy do you want to attack here?
Yeah, we have somewhat limited options in some of the primary prop markets when it comes to Kamani Vidal. I think we're going to see maybe more of an even split than people might expect. There's no rush attempts prop, for instance, up at DraftKings right now for Kamani Vidal, but I think he's coming off of his best game as a pro. I mean, in terms of the rushing yards after contact, yards over expected, the numbers were off the charts last week against Vegas. And I don't think that's something you just put away now because you have Omari and Hampton back, especially off of such a long absence. But one number that I did like, guys, for Omari and Hampton is over 11.5 receiving yards. Again, we don't have anything up right now in that category for Vidal. This Eagles defense, for the most part, has been league average to above league average against running backs, but they gave up the second most yards per target to running backs as wide receivers this season. Omari and Hampton was being used more as a receiver prior to the injury, 18 targets in his final 3 games pre-injury. So especially if that Philly defensive line is able to get after Herbert, I think we see some dump offs to Omari and Hampton. I think if he can catch 2 passes in this game, he could get there.
It's a great observation. I actually wanted to ask you about his receptions as well, because it's different books obviously going to have different numbers. I see anywhere from 1.5 over like minus 150, 2.5. You can grab over higher than plus 150. Would you look at something like that?
I think I would, guys. Yeah, I mean, this is something that requires a bit of a leap of faith because he's missed so much time. You're kind of grasping towards some games that happened 2+ months ago, but I think that's part of the appeal with Omari and Hampton is he's not just a between the tackles guy. He's somebody you can use a little bit more in the passing game. So I would certainly look at the yardage. I would look at the over on receptions as well. I like that.
Well, we do this every single week. As the world turns with the Green Bay Packers. Great win. Love looked awesome. Big move on Love MVP now, down to 10-1. What do you think of Green Bay now minus 240 to win the division and favored at Denver, who's won 10 in a row, laying 2.5?
Well, I understand the number against Denver because that team is just, what are they, 1-6 now when favored by at least 6 points this season. They always find a way to make those games close. And I think the Packers got a profile as a really difficult matchup for the Broncos to score more than 17 points in that game. And, I think Green Bay almost blew it, almost gave up a final touchdown drive on Sunday against Chicago. But I think that still goes down as one of their best wins of the season. The big thing I wanted to see from Green Bay was, did they turtle back up? Did they go back to this conservative style, which worked relatively well for them early in the season? Or did they learn something from that Lions game where they let Jordan Love cook? They let him throw down the field. Yeah. It was very un-Packers-like to have a little over a minute on the clock before halftime and not be playing for the field goal. Take a shot down the field to Bo Melton. Now, are you going to have that kind of success against the Denver defense? Perhaps not. But I understand why Green Bay's favored. And you look at this remaining schedule, that Bears game in 2 weeks at Soldier Field, even with the loss, I think Chicago still acquitted itself fairly well. That's a toss-up game, but, you favor the Packers there. The Ravens game at home, I mean, that looked like coming into the season, that was going to be, could potentially decide the 1 seed, could potentially decide whether Green Bay is in the playoffs, could be a huge game for Baltimore. I think you feel really good about that if you're the Packers right now. And then you get a dead Vikings team in week 18. So I totally understand it. And I'm with you as far as looking at those Jordan Love MVP odds. It's going to be tough because the gap in touchdowns is so large. I think Matthew Stafford has 9 more than any other quarterback. He has 11 more than Jordan Love. That might just carry it for some voters, but if the Packers finish this season 4-0, if the Rams trip up and all of a sudden Green Bay is the 1 seed, I think there is some value right now on Jordan Love.
Wow, that's interesting. The thing I can't get past is the 3 losses, how bad he played. Because you look, the scores were 16-13, 13-10, and 10-7. Shouldn't the MVP candidate be able to score more than that output in the 3 games?
You would think. Now, a lot of this, when you're handicapping the MVP, you almost have to try to get in the minds of voters. And, Matthew Stafford has kind of the more traditional case, yards, touchdowns, low interceptions, really good team. Whereas Jordan Love is the analytics darling. He's far and away number 1 in EPA per play at the quarterback position. I think you look at those losses earlier this season and he had a really bad interception at the end of the Browns game. That's one that's going to stick with him. But the Carolina game, that was one where there were fluky plays early on. We've talked about this plenty this season where Green Bay just doesn't have the ball enough. And that was really something that plagued them in that game. The Philly game was tough, but to me, it's still not something where you look back and say Jordan Love lost the Packers those games. I could tell you sitting here in the state of Wisconsin, he's not catching any blame. When they had lost 2 straight to Carolina and Philly, all of that was directed at Matt LaFleur. It wasn't going toward Jordan Love.
How would you power rate? We're talking to Nick Whalen here, RotoWire on the Progressive Guest Line. How would you power rate right now, current state of the top of the NFC with the Rams, Seahawks, Eagles playing tonight, Packers as well? How would you look at that at the very top?
I think the Rams still have to be number one. Talking to a lot of Packers fans, watching the game with Packers fans yesterday, the Rams are still that team that nobody from Green Bay wants to face. I think that's kind of the nightmare matchup. You see the ease with which the Rams are able to move the ball, even against Green Bay's defense. I don't think they would have a ton of problems. So the Rams are number one. I kind of want to put Seattle number two. There is always the Sam Darnold factor, right? That's what's holding me back. Like this idea that Sam Darnold could turn back into Carolina Panthers Sam Darnold at any moment. But the Seahawks defense to me is maybe even a level up from Green Bay's, and that's saying a lot. So Seattle and Green Bay are kind of right there for that 2-3 spot. Beyond that, guys, San Francisco to me is intriguing. The injuries on defense, I think, are going to come back to hurt them at some point, but you always feel like you're going to be at a disadvantage, in terms of scheming when you're going up against Kyle Shanahan in a playoff game. Certainly the Packers have fallen victim to that plenty over the last decade. Beyond those teams, though, guys, I mean, it's a total toss-up. We'll know more about Philly a few hours from now. Tampa Bay feels like the wheels are kind of falling off, although they should get healthier. Chicago, to me, still feels like kind of a year away. You're not going to trust the quarterback there. And then you still have Detroit looming. I mean, that's a team that, again, Green Bay does not want to play for a third time in the playoffs, I'll tell you that. But it's tough to handicap outside of that top 3.
Yep, totally agree. And by the way, for the record, one more that you like tonight is McConkey over 4.5 catches.
Yep, that's right.
Okay.
That's right. He's kind of turned back into being the guy for Justin Herbert. Still not seeing the target share that we would like in the fantasy world, but early in the season, he was looking at Keenan Allen. He was looking at Quentin Johnston quite a bit more. And part of the read here on McConkey is that the Eagles have been one of the 3 best defenses against tight ends this season. So expecting a little bit less out of Arondé Gadsden. I think some of that trickles to McConkey.
Very good. Nick, as always, we appreciate the time. Enjoy the game tonight. Best of luck.
Will do, guys. Thank you.
There you go. Nick Whalen. Follow him on X. He's at Whalen, but use the number 1 instead of an L on the last name there. And he was on the Progressive Guest Line.
I got to go Dicker over 1.5 made field goals.
I think so, right?
I have to go Herbert rushing yards under 19.5 with the broken hand.
Yeah.
After the surgery. Don't take off and run. If you miss it the first time, good news, giving you one last chance to get a great Vegas weekend at Circa. The first 100 new VSiN Pro subscribers who sign up using promo code CIRCA will get a free 3-night stay, the 2nd through the 5th, in a day bed at Stadium Swim for the final weekend of the regular season. 50% off the monthly price and a full year of VSiN Pro. Last shot. Don't wait. Circa Getaway. VSiN.com/Circa. Promo code CIRCA. VSiN.com/Circa.
To Nick's point about rookie Omarion Hampton, now it's been a while, right? He's been out for a long time. But in his last 3 games, he was really emerging. He caught 17 passes out of the backfield on 18 targets. Like, he caught 6 passes in 2 games and 5 in the other, and he had 26, 37, and 59 yards in the air.
Herbert, 1-9 straight up as a home dog.
How about that?
And Sirianni, when the line is +3 to -3, in that range, 13-2 ATS.
It's up next. Paul's going to recap a lot of the betting action from the weekend. Win some, lose some. How about this? Numerous 75-1 tickets that cashed. He'll run down the details for you next here on VSiN.
Win Some, Lose Some is sponsored by the Sharp Plays.
Were you a winner last night? Wow, winning. Or was it a rough one?
Well, they can't all be winners, can they?
Loser! You're a loser!
Pauly Howard recaps the night in sports betting in Win Some, Lose Some.
Are you ready? I know you're like Frank Costanza sometimes. You like to go in fresh. Are you ready to sit for some of these big boys?
Uh-huh. Let's go.
First touchdown, Dolphins 9-1. Shutout 4-1. Most points, Rams 6-1. Highest scoring game, Bills Bengals 3-1. Low scoring game, Vikings Commanders 8-1. Actually, in Houston, 30. No, Houston, Kansas City got in there too. My fault, that late game. Fewest points, Commanders 15-1. How about that? That's why so many Washington fans were ticked off about don't put him back in. He could get hurt again and make it worse, and he did. He certainly was rusty too. Horrible by what happened, and now they lose Ertz for the year. Here you go now. And I think this was higher in some spots. At DraftKings, most passing yards, Shedeur Sanders was 75-1. Longest shot on the board. Threw for almost 400 yards in the loss. In the same game, most rushing yards, Tony Pollard, 80-1. What happened to this Cleveland defense?
Yeah, against the Browns defense at home, by the way.
Huge performance from Pollard. Puka was 9-1 most receiving. He just edged out DK Metcalf at the end, who was also 80-1, as hasn't done much this year. He had a big game.
Wow.
Blake Corum, 2 touchdowns, 18-1. Great call, Warren Sharp.
I was on him 1 week too early.
Yeah. Jalen Wright, anytime, 15-1.
Yeah, the Achane thing. Now,
he says he's okay. He just
I
fell
know,
on the
fell
ball.
on the ball. That's it.
Right. I know Ollie Gordon got in there, but again, McDaniel doesn't like Ollie Gordon.
For whatever reason, and I brought this up on the tailgate show yesterday, I took Achane 20-1 most rushing yards. I think he was going to rush for 250 yards yesterday.
You're right. I think you're right. Oliver, first touchdown 8-1. I didn't see what the first one was. I'm sure that was a big boy. Aaron Rodgers was a big boy. First touchdown of the game, 100-1.
Oh my God. Do you know what he was anytime?
I didn't see
had the conversation yesterday. He doesn't run anymore.
No, it's been 3 years, right? Since he scored? 4 years?
Right. He had to be minimum 10-1 to score.
Oh, like more than that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. 100-1.
Oh my God.
Saints 3-1. Steelers plus 220. Let's see these tomorrow with the tip jar. Mama's Pizza. Send them in. Kennesaw State 50-1. Indiana 45-1 at BetMGM before the season. Duke 50-1 to win the ACC. 19-20-1, 18-1 about a month ago. Guns up. Texas Tech plus 650. Georgia plus 450 to win the SEC. James Madison plus 350 to win the Fun Belt. And send these in as well. We already got some tickets. They were 12-1 to make the playoff. Great job. And I'm sure that got higher as we went on with the season, too. Boise was $1.30 to win the Mountain West. Western Michigan was 25-1 to win the MAC. Miami to make the college football playoff plus 550 the last couple weeks. Brad Powers is on tomorrow to show off and brag, and rightfully so. Notre Dame to miss 11-1. He was saying for weeks, bet this. Illinois State FCS playoffs on the road against North Dakota State, one of the best teams ever, maybe, for that level. They were minus $2 to win the whole thing. 3 touchdown favorite at home, lost. Illinois State 15-1. Friday in college football, unders went 4-0. UFC, Blachowicz, Guskov, draw 75-1 here at Circa. Tyra,
yeah, those UFC draws always pay handsomely.
big time. Malik sub 7-1, Zayam knockout 7-1, Tyara KO 17-1. Subscribe, be part of the team, vsin.com. Our radio and podcast friends, you always want to see these tweets and videos. At Pauly Does Vegas on Instagram, send them in, we'll put you on. People tell me this is not AI, and a lady taking the video says this is not AI. This is my dog jumping up the tree and then on the top of the fence and just hanging out and looking. And that's what he does. And then he runs down, runs in the backyard, and goes over, does it all over again. Climbs up, jumps on the fence, and wants to take a look at everything. Okay.
Did you see the way he matrixed his way down the tree?
Yeah. It's like those one dogs that are trained that they jump up and how
the
high
wall?
they scale the wall, how they can grab stuff.
How was he balancing on that small,
Can't
that
believe
narrow of a fence?
Yeah, send it to me, Luke. I'll put that on Instagram. How about this? Is Paw Shank Redemption. Andy Dufresne. He's tunneled his way out. The husky is digging a hole underneath the garage, and the owner knows what he's doing, and he's
wow.
sneaking out. Okay, go back in. Knock it off. Really? Really? Okay, sorry. And he crawls back in. All right, you got me. Digging through the hole. Paw Shank Redemption. Well done. Excellent. Lose some. James Madison, 20.5 up to 24.5. No good. Booger McFarland. I don't know what's worse. This is true or he admitted it. I've only seen Ohio State play one time this year.
Right.
Said it live on air. Mm-hmm. The defending champs? The best team in the country till the Indiana game? Still could be the best team in the country?
Yeah, in his spot, you might want to stay away from saying that.
And on the Fox pregame, Mark Ingram said Alabama shouldn't be in the playoff.
How about that? And Herb Street said right after the SEC title game, Miami is in, should be in. This has to come down to Notre Dame versus Alabama.
Yeah.
He said that
was
like
really
a minute
picking
after
up
the game
steam.
was done.
That was really picking up steam that Alabama should have been out. And Mark Ingram just said they've been so bad and inconsistent since mid-October. They have to be out.
I cannot believe they did not drop.
That is Kennesaw State over, by the way. 56 up to 62. No good. Bad for the books. Boise UNLV. 56 up to 60. Fell 59. Boise plus 1.5 to -6. Routed UNLV again. Kennesaw State plus 1.5 to -3. And the bad beats Broncos and under. No soup for you. The Raiders kick a field goal at the gun to put it on 7 after the ridiculous penalty. Oh, that was infuriating.
That's bad.
You could see the whole thing coming. Like, why? The clock's going to run out. What are you doing? For the line move, sharp plays is already there. They don't just follow the market. They help shape it. You're not going to outsmart billion-dollar books or full-time sharps on your own. With the sharp plays, you don't have to. Powered by advanced AI, plug into trusted insider sources. Active across NBA, NFL, MLB, and college hoops. They deliver the edge serious bettors use every day. Free reports, alerts, market moving insights straight to your inbox or X-Feed. Sharpplays.com. Trusted by pros, monitored by the books. Look for the first touchdown of the game tweets before kickoff. Sharpplays.com.
It's a wacky league this year, man. Chiefs, Ravens look like they're about as close to dead as you can get. The Bills had to have that game yesterday. Forget about with the Bengals.
Their defense is so bad.
It's terrible. I can't
Burrow
imagine.
just gave them the gift.
Yeah, he did. I mean, that one was just, they both were really bad, but
What
holy
was that?
smokes.
The shot put?
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that.
I
don't know what was the play call or the execution with the shot put.
Yep.
You gift wrapped it.
And there are some really weird scores this year, too. Maybe Carolina's the real deal. Maybe they are. Maybe they make a run in the NFC. Maybe they win that division. That's not even far-fetched at all anymore with Tampa Bay losing again yesterday.
Yeah.
How'd the Rams lose to them last week?
Yeah.
And then they just bounced back like no problem yesterday.
Well, it was turnovers. I know. A little concerned about their defense, which you can't give that up against Carolina, but he had the pick 6 and a couple turnovers as well. But sure. I just can't believe Baltimore. Are you telling me Pittsburgh's going to win this division? As bad as they've looked at some of these games, and they needed 2 wins where they had 5-6 turnovers. The Colts game, the Patriots
game, a lot of that at the goal line.
By
the way,
they couldn't stop the Bills. They just ran the same play.
Doesn't part of you want the Steelers to get into the playoffs so you can bet against them immediately in their first game?
I like Baltimore, but I just can't believe they've done this to themselves.
Well, they're just not a good football team.
No.
I mean, and Jackson again. I mean, Pittsburgh was clearly the right side yesterday.
Who has worse luck than Likely?
Oh, it's 3 times now in his career.
The toe
against the Chiefs,
right?
week 1.
The fumble at the goal line on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I didn't know why the guy even ripped it. Well, like you're holding it out there. Just tuck it in and hang on to it. Touchdown, you win the game.
Can we create a prop that would be, will Isaiah Likely come close to scoring a touchdown?
That's a good
It
one.
happens seemingly every time he gets his hands on the ball now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just, I don't even know if I want Baltimore in. They're not good. I think I'd rather have Pittsburgh, but then again, like, what if the matchup's going to have to be right?
How can this be? 2-time MVP winner. Henry, Mitchell, Flowers, Likely, Andrews.
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to have a winning record? I mean, this is just unbelievable. And I would say time for a new voice, too. I think the Harbaugh act is old.
How about maybe what if Jacksonville's good? In the AFC, Pauly?
They've won 5 of 6, and the loss was the Mills game.
Yeah, but Mills is not awful.
No, I know. But I'm just pointing out. I'm pointing out that was the loss when they blew a 19-point lead.
Sure.
How about Houston? They've won 5 of 6. The loss was Denver by 3. They blew that game.
I don't think I could love this team anymore.
Yeah, defense is sick.
I mean, I specifically watch their games only because of their defense. So much I love them.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for Stroud.
Yeah, he made some big, but I could not believe the Chiefs. And yes, I did bet Houston before the game started last night, plus 5.5. Mahomes never does well in that situation. Offensive line is shaky against a great front.
Yeah.
Up next, week 15 numbers in the NFL. We have a total of 55.5, and we could get 5 double-digit favorites. We'll run them down for you coming up next.